Welcome to another edition of the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, co-owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. Today's show is about common business scams and what you need to look out for. These scams usually come in the form of an email or a text message and sometimes a phone call. And we're also going to discuss the new Google Voice scam that can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. For the first half of the show, I will be joined by my client and good friend SWALE Finley, owner of SWALE Interiors in Houston, Texas, and we will be discussing typical email and text scams. Thank you for joining me, SWALE. SWALE, please tell us more about SWALE Interiors.
Hi, Christian. Thank you so much for having me on your program today. I launched SWALE Interiors Painting Company back in 2005. And originally I was a decorator back in the 90s, but after there was a big crash in 2000, 2001, sadly I went bankrupt and knew that I needed to launch a business that had much more staying power. And that's when I started my painting company, which includes interior and exterior painting. And it's just for residential. I don't do commercial.
Right. Yes. As a business owner, we've all experienced at one point or another some sort of fraud or scam attempt towards us, especially by email or text message. Please tell me, have you ever been scammed before? And if you have, what happened?
Yes, I have. Because of my promotion and advertising that I have done through the years with Home Advisor and now Angie Leads, I'm very fortunate to have 80 testimonials. And of those 80 testimonials, 67 are 5-star and 5 are 4 stars. And what I discovered some years ago is that scammers tend to look for companies that have really good track records. And they always start, at least this has been my experience, where they start by sending a text. And they're trying to get me interested. They'll say things like, "Oh, hi, how are you? How's your day going? I just bought a new house, or I'm renting an apartment. I've already got the paint ordered. How much would you charge?" And so I immediately know that it's a scam before I ever really start because of the order of the questions. Because somebody who really wants information on a project, they're going to introduce themselves, they're going to immediately give me their full address, their zip code, and then we could discuss their project.
Right. Those are all big red flags. Another huge red flag that happens when they try to contact you is that when they send you an email or text, they usually always ask if you offer a certain service that you obviously do, and they should have known about from checking your website, social media, or even the Google My Business listings.
Right. Well, because of my testimonials that I was speaking about earlier, they already know that I'm a painting company.
Right.
And so they're zeroing in on information. And ultimately, what they want to do is they want to get your credit card number or they want to get your banking number. Because I find out, as far as like running the scam with them, I'll send a message immediately. "Yes, we are a painting company and thank you for contacting SWALE Interiors." And then I just wait because I know what's getting ready to happen. So then they start the whole process. And what I do, first of all, is I ask, well, I need to get your exact address and zip code. And then they will send me something finally. And then what I do is I will send them a text message back and say, "Oh, thank you so much for considering SWALE Interiors, but you're too far away from the target area that my company works in. And I wish you the best of luck on your painting project." And that usually stops the whole thing dead.
Right, because they have no interest in interior exterior painting. They're just trying to get their hands on your bank or your credit card.
Right, and if I'm not somebody who is desperate, and wanting to, well, yes, we're going to drive those extra 15 miles to come out to your house. And, and you're going to pay a really high amount. Usually they overbid on the project if I take it that far. But I still know that ultimately their goal is going to be a scam. That's why I kind of nip it in the bud. And what I've learned through the years is with scammers, don't make them mad. This is a big mistake that people make, business owners make, because remember, if they've already got all my information, I don't want to take a chance on them really hurting my website, my company. They could possibly do something where I get a bad referral, bad recommendations. I want to nip it in the bud, but always remain civil. That's my suggestion.
Right, because we don't know how much power these guys have over your information. They've already got your hands on your phone number, your email, your website, and what may seem like harmless pieces of information, we don't know what resources they have and how they can abuse these pieces of information, how they can use them to their advantage in order to attack you somehow.
Exactly. And a lot of times what I'll do, getting a text message, all you have to do is look up at the top of the screen there on your phone and you will see their phone number. Right. So then what I do is I'll call the phone number. And then if I can get them on the line, then I could try and start asking them other questions. There again, I know it's ultimately going to be a scam, so I'm not going to follow through with it.
Right, yes. You're looking out for all the red flags. You already seem to know what they are, and it looks like that should a scammer ever contact you again, you'll know not to fall for it.
Exactly. Well, I've been self-employed for over 35 years. So I have definitely seen had my experiences with potential scam artists.
Right. There's so many of them out there. And like you said earlier about how they'll go back and they'll try to overbid on a project. One thing that scammers like to do when they tease business owners is that after you provide them a quote, for example, if I quote them, if they contact me asking for website design, I'll tell them it will be $800 to get a 5-page website done, and they will offer to pay $5,000. You see where that doesn't make sense? Why would they want to pay more than what it costs? And the reasoning behind that is they want you to launder money. They want you to get involved with this. If they pay you all that money, they want you to take the difference and send it to another account. And that's where money laundering comes into play. Now you're doing something illegal when you don't even realize it.
Oh my God.
And what happens next is that when you get it, let's say you fall for this and you take the payment, right? And you go ahead and send the money to this person they're asking you to send the difference to, right? What will happen is that you are now considered to be involved in the money laundering. The FBI will be notified by the bank once they realize that. The scammer will disappear. You'll never hear from them again. And you, and only you, are going to be held legally liable. And you'll be dealing with the FBI and other legal repercussions.
Oh, it potentially can be such a disaster. And that's why I recommend, if by chance, if you're a business owner and this is happening to you, one, don't attack the people, be very civil, and look at a way to politely walk away from it and wish them well in their project.
Right. That's the best way to handle it, because we don't want any more trouble than they're already trying to give us already.
Exactly.
These scams in the business world are very intricate. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're trying to do when they go after a target.
One thing that's happened to me in the past, once I start talking with somebody, I would say things like, or I either send them a text message or I talk to them on the phone, and I say, well, when can I meet you at such and such an address? And in most cases they go, well, I'm not in town. And I go, well, when would you be expected back? And I will arrange to meet you at that address. And they go, oh no, I'm just going to give you all the information. I have somebody in Houston that's dealing with all this. I've already arranged for the paint and materials to be delivered to the house. And I say, well, look, I've if I'm going to be getting into the house, I've got to have access with a key. And they go, well, I'm going to have somebody that takes care of all that for you. So once again, if something like this is happening to you and you're getting responses or similar responses, immediately if you thought it was a scam. As my mom used to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
And they make every excuse in the book not to meet up in person. The most common one is that they'll always claim that they're in the hospital and they can't come meet you, and then they'll just insist that they pay by credit card. They won't accept any other form of payment. It's always going to be a credit card. One time, I was just playing with the scammer just to make absolutely sure that this person I was talking to wasn't a scammer. I already had a hunch that they were. I said, I can't accept credit cards right now. Our credit card machine is down. We need to accept cash, and I need to see a copy of your driver's license. And here's what happened. They sent me a driver's license. Now, I don't know whose driver's license this person was, but they sent me a driver's license, and it belonged to somebody. I don't know how they got their hands on it. It could have been stolen.
So what they did was they sent you a picture with an email or a text of a driver's license.
That's right.
Yeah, you didn't actually physically hold in your hand a driver's license.
No, they emailed it to me. They will take things one step ahead sometimes. If you ask them for a driver's license, they'll most likely provide you a stolen one they've gotten. And if, in my case, when it comes to website design, I'll tell them, before we get started, I need you to provide me all the written content. They will actually write something up and send it to you in a Word document or PDF file, and it'll look very legit. They'll actually take the time to do this just to get you on the hook. It looks very real, and that's how people fall into these scams.
Exactly. And I have experienced that situation where several times I've gotten leads where once I want to meet the people at the house, they'll say things like what happened with you. Oh, I'm in the hospital right now. I'm recovering from an operation. I'm going to be here for a while. And so I wouldn't be able to meet you there at the address.
Right.
And so it's at that point, that's when I know it's time to wind it down, and I always use the story of, well, your address, once I've gotten their address and zip code, your address is out of our target range that we service, and I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for contacting my company, and I wish you all the best in your project.
That's the best way to handle it.
And at that point, they have no recourse, because then they see I'm not interested.
Right.
That's what you want to do with a scammer. You don't get mad at them. You want to end it.
Right. You just want to end it and cut contact with them right afterwards.
Exactly. And be able to state it in such a way that they'll reach that point where they have no recourse to pursue it any further, and then they move on to somebody else.
Right, which is sad. They will move on to somebody else. One thing that helps other people is when you're talking to the scammer, you'll want to try to keep talking to them as long as you possibly can, because it keeps them from robbing somebody else blind. Just waste their time with emails and stuff until they finally realize that they're not going to scam you. You know at this point that they have no recourse and they're just going to stop. But if you keep teasing them, at least you're taking up some of their time so that they're not going after somebody else for that time.
Well, for me, because I am the business owner and I've been self-employed for so many years, I don't want to waste my time with somebody with some potential project that I know is never going to go anywhere. And I want to get away from them as quickly as possible. Years ago, I did have a horrible experience where I got a fraud alert from my bank. And when I immediately jumped in the truck, drove over to the branch bank that I go to, and I went in to talk with the people and found out that a scam had hit, and we ended up, just to make a long story short, we ended up canceling my bank credit card, another credit card, and completely changed all of my banking notifications and routing.
And what was the genesis of all that? What caused all that to happen?
Actually, that's pretty private. In other words, it was a situation where I let a scenario go too far. And that's why I keep saying, if you've got a potential scammer, get away from them as quickly as you possibly can, because you don't want to potentially see. What my mistake was, I made a few mistakes and kind of pushed it a little too far, and they got a little bit too much information out of me, and that's when they started to attack me.
Right. It's just best to talk to them up to the point to where you know that they're a scammer, because you want to make sure you're not turning away a possible legitimate customer.
Oh, exactly. I mean, once I see the text and how it's worded, I know literally within the first 5 to 10 minutes if this is a legitimate situation or somebody is just trying to run a scam.
Right. They're very sneaky about it. And what's even scarier is that sometimes they get your information by other means. Maybe they weren't on your website. Maybe they just found it somewhere. There's just so many ways. These marketing lists and stuff like that people have no idea that their information is on. Or, yes, the white pages are still a thing. People can find your personal numbers in the online white pages.
Well, mainly the way scammers have come at me or found out about my company and myself is that they find my website and they happen to go to Home Advisor, which is the biggest promotional company in the, and now Home Advisor's become Angie Leads. And so once they see all of those testimonials, which is all public record there at Angie Leads now, that's when they think, aha, this could be a company that we could go at.
Right. They go for the ones that look the best. They see it as it's a big carrot dangling in their face.
Right. And if they happen to pull me up on Better Business Bureau, I have no lawsuits. I have a perfect credit rating, things of that nature. So my company and myself looks very good.
Right.
On the internet.
Right. They're not going to try to go after one with a bad record, because they're the ones that they're most likely, those are the ones that don't really have the money and stuff. They want to go after the ones that they know can be trusted.
Exactly. Well, and they can see that I have a strong, positive business record.
Right. The majority of your reviews, as you mentioned earlier, are 5 stars.
Yes.
And they look for that. They want to see who can provide the best value, and then we'll go ahead and tailor our script around what they offer so we can make them interested in getting the best possible product or service. That this company is our target that we're trying to scam.
Right. Once again, if just by chance you happen to experience somebody that's contacting you and your company and you think it's potentially a scam, it probably is. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I always recommend don't make them mad and get away from them as quick as you possibly can.
Correct. Those are some tips that we all need to note down as business owners.
Yes.
And some other tips for preventing scams would be as follows. On your phone, you'll want to have an app that filters out scam calls. There's one that I use called Hiya, which is spelled Hiya. It will automatically detect robocalls, telemarketers, possible scammers, and instantly hang up on them. And of course, you can also use the app to block these calls as well.
Right. And you had recommended, when you set up my website years ago, these are all things that I have incorporated into my business model through the years. But the thing of it is, it's when somebody sends you a text. It's not a phone call, and that's when these other systems don't kick in.
They don't kick in, right.
See, that's why they want to come after you with just a text to get the ball rolling. And that's when you need to nip it in the bud.
Right. That's when you need to start looking for all the red flags we've been talking about so far.
Exactly.
And another way to prevent scam emails would be to, instead of deleting them, hit the spam button when they come in. Once you open it up and it's got all the red flags of a scam, hit the mark spam button. That way, and this especially works with Gmail, when emails like that come in or similar ones, Gmail will automatically send it to spam. You don't have to worry about it or open it.
Yes, and Christian, that was such wonderful information that you shared with me years ago, and I'm a good note taker, and I try and do all of these things that you suggest to me through the years to help my business grow. And it's because of you and your company I've been highly successful, thank goodness. And even this past year and a half with COVID and stuff, I'll just say we've survived.
Yes, it's been a very rough year. 2021 was not the best year for me either, and 2020 had its ups and downs. It was a crazy year, but I do feel that as time moves on, we're going to be able to see through all these scams, see through all the other roadblocks that we face, and let's hope for 2022 to be that big boom of business for both of us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and who's ever listening, I highly recommend Christian, and you can contact him through his website, which he will give you all of that information. And I've had very good results with his business model that he set up for me.
And you've been a valued client of CDG for nearly 6 years now, going on 7. We really enjoy doing business with you over here at Creativity Design Group. It's not just about building a website, designing a logo and a business card, and then telling the client that they're done. We want to see success in all of our clients.
Exactly.
We care about their success. We're not just trying to take their money, be done with the job, and then not look out for them afterwards. We always do follow-up. We always check to see how they're doing, if they need anything. And one thing we like to do is also ensure that their platforms that they're using on social media, their websites, that they are fail-safe. We want to make sure that scammers don't take advantage of these platforms, and that when people go online and look up these companies, that we're only getting real people. We don't want any more fraudsters. Based on all the stuff that we've been talking about, you can do the same thing at home if you're a business owner. You'll want to make sure that you have strong filters, you know what the red flags of a scam are, and you know exactly how to handle scammers should you encounter them.
Exactly. And remember, Christian, about 6 months ago when I contacted you, and I thought, sure, that my website had been attacked and I'd been, something fell through the cracks and I got scammed. And what you, through all of your detective work, you discovered that it was really the hosting company that was having some, they were changing a bunch of things at their company, and it in turn affected my website.
Yes, I remember that. And your website thankfully came back online, but then changes at the hosting company resulted you to go offline for nearly 2 months due to email problems that they were having on their end.
Oh, it was very scary, very scary. But thank goodness, I've with my promotional situation, I was able to sustain through those 2 months, and now everything is back on track.
What I'm thankful to hear is that all those issues were not caused by scammers or hackers. It was just some technical difficulties on the hosting end.
Yeah.
That makes things even less scary, knowing that there wasn't any malicious attempts going on back there.
Right. And I really wanted to bring that up because it was scary to me for my business. But once I discussed it with you and you did your detective work, you discovered it was not a scam, but it was really the hosting company.
Right.
Yeah. So for all those business owners listening to this program, check out everything. It may not be a scam, but if it looks like a scam, it probably is.
Correct. And one thing that I've been stressing out on the past few episodes of this podcast is always do your due diligence on everything. If you have something suspicious coming in, just try to do as much detective work as you possibly can. Always do your homework. I can't stress this enough to everybody. You need to do your due diligence on every little thing you possibly can. You don't know who you're talking to if a stranger contacts you. Maybe you're signing up for some service and some things about it sound too good to be true. I mean, we see advertisements all the time on TV, on the radio, and especially on the internet. We don't know what's legit and what's not these days. That's what's scary. I personally am very skeptical about everything.
Well, exactly. We've been moving into a new realm of fake news
Right.
for the past 2 years, and or 3 years. And it's you really have to watch your business profile, and definitely, there may be that potential of a scammer. So always be on guard.
Right. You should always be as alert as possible. Always check your website every day in its back end. Make sure everything's maintained and up to date. For example, if you use WordPress and you don't update the core, the theme, or the plugins, your website is at risk of being hacked by security holes. And also, that also applies for your computer too. Make sure all your software programs are up to date. Make sure your version of Windows or Mac or whichever operating system you use is up to date as well too, because Microsoft and Apple are always releasing updates that patch major security holes. These keep hackers out of your computer. And on your phone, make sure your apps are up to date. Make sure your operating system is up to date there too. iOS, Android, you want to make sure those are up to date. Make sure that people don't hack into your phone. And in fact, in the next segment of our program, we will be talking about the Google Voice scam and what you can do to stay safe from it.
Oh, that sounds very interesting. I can't wait to hear that part of the podcast.
Mr. Finley, thank you for joining me on the program. Thank you for sharing all of your useful insights on here. We know that our audience is going to find them very useful, and these are a lot of things that people do not normally know about. And if you're a business owner, you need to take this advice to heart. Make sure that you know about how to handle scammers, what you can do to stay safe, and make sure that you don't become a victim yourself. Mr. SWALE Finley here has done a great job at calling out all the points that we need to know.
Well, thank you so much, Christian, for having me on your program today. And I truly award you with you being able to give me so much information through the years so I could expand my business and become even more successful.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you for keeping me and CDG in mind when you need services for your website or your digital marketing done. We greatly appreciate your business, and we have certainly appreciated these past 7 years that we've been working together. It's been a huge blessing to us.
Oh, thank you, Christian. And I'll just say in closing, I could have never done it without you.
That's what we like to hear. We love hearing about our clients doing very well. We don't like to just do the job and then walk away from them. We like to be there for them every step of the way. Again, thank you for joining me on the show. To all our listeners out there, please stay tuned. The next segment on the Google Voice scam is coming up right now. Joining me for the second half of the show to discuss the Google Voice scam are Chef Jay and Facedown Tragedy, hosts of the After the Shuffle podcast show on YouTube, and concerned consumer in the United Kingdom, Lauren Hicks. Thank you guys for joining me, and welcome back to the show. So, Chef Jay, I'm going to start with you. Please tell us more about your findings in regards to this Google Voice scam. I know you've done a lot of research and you have a lot of valuable information to share with us. And usually this scam starts out with a Craigslist listing or some item for sale, right? It's usually somebody who posted something for sale online and this person is texting them under the guise of being interested, right?
Yes, this is correct, Christian. It's pretty much anyone who posts something on Craigslist that are trying to sell something, or Facebook Marketplace, or even someplace like, you're having a garage sale, here's my phone number, or I have a lost pet, here's my number. So you just basically give them your number, and they're going to make their own virtual number through Google Voice connected to your number and your name and your account. And they can also use that same number that they created to do other scams.
Wow. It sounds like another version of spoofing, basically, only with actual legitimate numbers from customers and innocent people who aren't tied to any company, basically.
Pretty much, and they can just create any number from any city or anywhere whenever they get your code. Because it basically, when you sign up for it, it says, what city do you live in? And you click on any city in the U.S. or anywhere in the world, and then it has a list of phone numbers you can pick with area codes. And once they get that area code, you're pretty much screwed because they have a whole number. And then when someone rings that number, it'll ring your number on your phone, or whenever somebody calls your phone, it'll go to that number, or you get a text, it'll go to that number, and all your contacts that are on your phone are now linked to that account, which means they have access to everyone.
And I guess because you're giving that verification through Google, it's not going to be, flagged by Google or anything really, I guess, right?
Yes, exactly. There's only certain ways you can prevent from getting this, but if you follow for this, this ain't nothing new. This is Google Voice has been available for what 4 or 5 years now, but I haven't heard anyone talk about this recently.
This is basically you say clone your home phone, own your whole phone, correct?
It pretty much what it actually does is you link your phone and your Google account to this Google Voice, okay? And then when you do the Google Voice, you're able to pick a new phone number that is linked to this Google Voice account. But then that phone number is linked to your phone number, or whatever other devices you have connected to this, and you can make calls, receive calls. If you get a call on your cell phone that's linked to it, it'll say call on this device. You get your contacts on your cell phone. Your contacts will be on Google Voice no matter where they sign in.
Wow.
Yeah, they pretty much own your phone at that point. They're holding it hostage, and they've locked you out of it so they can have full control.
It's not like they own your phone. It's more like they cloned your phone.
Right.
So they have a whole copy of every single text message you guys have sent. They can even reply to the people and all that stuff. But on the other side, they can just make calls with their virtual number to anything and create more scams. Like I said, they can open a bank account. You get your two-step verification codes from, like, say, your bank account, and when they text your phone saying put in this code, they'll get that code and they'll be able to wire money or do anything else that they need to do.
Now, how does that work? Say a lot of people in their browsers on their phone, and then Google has the information where you can save your payment information to autofill later on. Is that something they would also have access to doing this?
I don't think they would access to the autofill, but they would access to the two-step verification. So when they go online and actually put in your information, they'll say, hey, give me this code, and your phone will ring and say, hey, this is the code. Well, they'll have that code to verify that they're you, which is really scary.
It is.
And they have all your contacts, too, and all your text messages. So you could be getting text messages, and it'll be going off on your phone and your Google Voice, but they control your Google Voice at this time.
Right. And they're just going to use your contacts to have more opportunity to do the same thing to other people.
Exactly.
Because they have the numbers and everything, yeah.
They can use your phone or that number that's linked to you to do other scams or who knows what.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these people don't even know that they have been scammed by that because they don't even leave a background. They just sit there quietly in the background, which is pretty weird.
Yeah, and that's something you don't think about anyway, because, I mean, you get those verification codes from Google all the time. Well, not all the time, but frequently when you're going to do something, and it's not something that you're going to think of as you're being hacked or anything like that. I mean, the Google verification is something that's, no big deal for the most part.
Yeah, they also have access to your voicemails.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's something that I haven't heard from anyone. I haven't really heard this a lot. I don't know if people are still doing it, but you got to be aware of these things, people.
Yeah, just don't verify and click and do the code without looking at what it is. You should get an email with who's trying to do this, and if I remember correctly, it should give you like a IP and a city or state or wherever it's trying to come from, if I remember correctly. So just don't go ahead and do away with it and click OK or whatever you do. Just check. You should be getting an email that you'll be able to get some more information on from before you verify it. Definitely.
That's like what they kind of try to get you in, because you're trying to sell an item or something, and you're like, oh, this item is still available, they'll say, and you'll be like, yes, it is. And they'll be like, okay, I'm going to send you a code to make sure that you're a real person. And then you just fall for it, because you want to sell your item or find your lost pet or something.
Right.
But then once you give them the code, you're pretty much screwed until you know how to get rid of it, until you sign up for your own Google Voice, and then they give you a new code, and then you sign in, and you're like, okay, I'm linked to my phone now, and you can never do it. That's the only way really to get rid of it. Sign up for it before they can. So there's a couple other ways you can get it if you already figured it out that you've been hacked with this. But most people don't know that they've been compromised by this.
It's just scary to think, that people can do that, and it's always important to, if you're being led to a website, to click off it and go on the genuine website just to make sure it's genuine.
Right.
That's true, but they kind of get you just saying like, oh, we sent you a code, and then you just give them the code, and that's all they need.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I've had that issue before, and I've just like ignored it, luckily, and then gone on the main website just to check.
Yeah, there
Even
you go.
though obviously sometimes the main website can't tell you everything, I've found that easier.
I would say the best thing to do is, if doing your due diligence isn't exactly possible, just to trust your gut instinct. If it seems like that it's unusual, then just pass it on. I was going to say that when you get a text message, a random text message out of the blue, and it says your account was hacked or here is your verification codes, because I've gotten some of these myself before, some of them from my bank, and they weren't my bank, they were phishing attempts. But it looked like they were my bank. I knew very well that they were scams, so I didn't give in to them or respond to them. Anytime you get a text message where they claim that somebody was in your account or possibly that there is some unusual activity going on, you'll want to call that institution first before you give in to the message and follow the steps they give you. It might tell you to text them something, or maybe this is your verification code, use this to do whatever, something like that. Those are some ways you can investigate.
It just reminded me. I had what's it called? It was similar. It wasn't a voice one, but I had a email or something with a fake email, Apple email, and they wanted you to do the one-step verification thing. But when you click on it, the one-step verification thing wouldn't work. So I went on the main website to just check it, and it was a scam.
Yeah, it sounds like it pretty much.
And just to add, these don't only come through in the form of a text message. They do have automated calls where you punch in the number with your phone for the code.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. They'll give you a voicemail with the code, and then you would give them the letters or numbers or
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way, through text or voice.
That's the worrying thing about with banks as well, because luckily with Barclays, when you ring them, they'll send you a notification to your banking app that you have to confirm the digits so they can get into your account. But that some people try to do scams on that as well.
Yeah, definitely. This is kind of like the same thing, but they already know your name and your phone number, so they already got most of that information, and all they need is the code, and then once they put in the code, it's already too late.
Yeah, that's how they can do it without you.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
When my neighbour's daughter, I know it was my neighbour's daughter who, she tried to get her ex-husband to do it. Someone rang me, and the stupid thing is, when I asked who was trying to hack into my account over the phone, he gave me a name, said, oh, they're from up country. But I typed the name in Facebook, and he happened to be friends with loads of people who are linked to these people. So that's how I know it was them. But basically, he rang me up, and he was asking for me to log into my banking app, and I was like, how do I know you're genuine? And he said, oh, I know your mother's maiden name, which is my security thing for when I ring the bank. Yeah, the bank won't know your security details unless you give it to them to break. Yep. So the fact this guy had my security details, that's how I knew it was a scam.
Maybe, but that seems like an easy question that they can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, that seems real easy.
I don't know my mum, they don't know me that well, so...
But they can find that information, and they can find out your maiden name so easily. And once the question's like, who's my mom's maiden name, you'll be like, oh, here it is.
An important thing to remember is if you didn't request some sort of activation code, and you still get a message or a phone call saying you did, chances are somebody's trying to hack into your account, or it's just a scammer pretending to be that bank or that company.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
This is how they get you. It's pretty much like you put something on Craigslist with your phone number or something like that, like you're selling something, and then they'll just send you the code because they already have your phone number.
That's why I say it's always very important to do your due diligence. I've said this many times on the past shows that we've done. It's important to investigate wherever you can. I know it's easier said than done in some cases, but if you get some sort of suspicious looking text message, email, or phone call claiming to be your bank or Amazon or whoever you're buying from, call them directly and find out if it's legitimate or not. That's going to be your best way to find out.
Because you can Google things easily as well, and usually Google will tell you if something's a scam.
Right. My favorite website is 800notes.com. This is where people post phone numbers that are tied to suspicious looking activity or scammers or anything in general. If it's a robocall, don't mention it's a robocall. And then it's like a forum website. People talk about their experiences, what the person said, what they heard when they answered the phone. It's a great way to find out if a number that called you is legitimate or not.
But it's kind of hard, like, because if you try to post something or sell something locally, you don't know if these numbers are legitimate or not. It's kind of hard to look up every contact that you get contacted by.
My advice would be, when selling locally, try to avoid using Craigslist, because, and it's not just because of scammers. There have been so many horror stories about people getting murdered because of Craigslist transactions and stuff like that. I would say eBay would probably be your best bet, because if you use eBay, they don't have access to your phone number, and you don't have to meet up with the person in person if you don't want to. You could ship it to them through eBay. If you're selling a product locally and you don't have a storefront and you're not selling through your own website, try to sell through eBay.
Or make a garage sale. Garage sale, yard sale.
Those are great ways to get around this Google Voice scam. There's too many people out there who have malicious intent. And even if you're not simply selling something locally, what if you're a business owner, like me? I get scam messages all the time that go straight to my Gmail spam box.
Selling things quickly and easily as well, safely, is by doing it via some exchange shops, like cash exchange or computer exchange shop. They'll often buy your phone or your device or whatever.
But those stores won't give you the max value that you can get for them. A lot of times those places can be huge.
Not always, no.
A lot of times those places themselves can be huge rip-offs. They're like pawn shops. For example, if you go to a pawn shop, you sell them a TV, they'll give you $10 for it, and they'll sell it for $500.
That's the same with computer exchange. Whenever I sell things down there, or anyone sells things down there, they'll charge like £100 or £200 more than what they sold it to you for.
That's what makes places like those huge rip-offs. I've had my own experiences with pawn shops in the past, and I just learned that the best way to sell something would be through eBay, or if you run a business and your daily income relies on selling stuff, get a website designed and advertise your products there.
I was just wanting to add that we was talking about Craigslist. I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but Facebook can be a little bit iffy as well, because they're not like eBay and Amazon. Facebook isn't holding its sellers if they're holding any responsibility up to a higher standard like eBay or Amazon. So Facebook Marketplace really is kind of second in line to Craigslist when it comes to iffiness.
I would agree with you on that. Facebook in general has been plagued with scams, not just on Facebook Marketplace, but a lot of those celebrity scammers and cash flip scammers, and they're not really doing anything about it. I've been talking to someone who has been baiting these scammers, and he's reported them. They aren't doing a thing about it. The profiles are still active. And then Facebook Marketplace is just an extension of that. People sell stuff on there. They're probably being very shady, Craigslist style. If something happens, Facebook's just going to tell you you're on your own. We're not going to help you get your money back. So going back to our initial topic about Google Voice scams, or what passive recourse do victims of this scam have if they fall victim to it?
Well, pretty much you would just have to sign up for Google Voice again, and you'll get a new verification code, and it'll link your new phone to it, or whatever, your past phone, and you'll have a new account now. And that's all you need to do, pretty much. Yes, this is true. Basically what you would have to do, Christian, would be able to sign up for Google Voice again, and you would get a new code on your phone, which would cancel out the scammer's so-called virtual number, and you pick out your own virtual number, and they would never be able to send you a code again. Once you're already hooked up and logged into Google Voice, so-called, they can't even send you a code.
I hate scammers. They're just disgusting people, aren't they? As I always say, greed is a deadly sin, and hopefully karma will get them.
True.
Very true.
Hate it.
Yes.
There might be a couple other ways you can avoid this scam, but I don't know those right now. But I'll post them up, or I'll let Christian know for a virtue episode.
That'll make a great episode moving on later, because we need to talk about as many of these scams we can and educate people on what they can do shouldn't they fall for them.
I haven't heard anyone talk about this scam at all recently.
This is a good find that you did, and I always wanted to ask, it seems like you got to do a little bit of work on your own to get your stuff back, and I'm just wondering, first of all, with Everly's always a target, and they're not usually technically inclined. What do they do at that point? Where do they get, the help, or they may not even know that it's happened to. Most elderly people are not really technologically inclined.
That's scary.
That's why scammers always ask elderly victims when they get them on the phone, and this is with any type of scam, the tech support, eBay, Amazon, SSA, the first question they usually always ask them is, do you live alone? Because once they know you live alone, they're pretty much fresh meat right there. They're just they know that there's no one there to help them.
That's true.
Yes,
That's true, but according to Trilogy's Night on the Town, the number one people to get scammed were kids under 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard
Yeah,
that.
just because they can just get their mom's credit card or their phone number or any information that they don't know that this is a scam.
Anything related to technology or social media in general, they're going to get baited into it real easily. The reason why kids are getting scammed is because they're, like you said earlier, they're spending too much time on social media when they shouldn't be. And really, the legal age limit for anybody to use social media is 18. And you've got kids as younger than that on there when they shouldn't be there. I mean, their parents can give them consent to do it, but in general, they're not even supposed to be on there till they turn 18.
Yeah, I keep thinking all the time, I hope my kids aren't on social media, because obviously they don't live with me, and I just constantly worry, are they on social media? But luckily I haven't found them on social media, because it goes against everything I believe in, and I never wanted that for my kids. And my son has severe autism, so them kind of children and people can be drawn into things so easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Definitely.
When it comes to social media, I only use it for business purposes. I don't use it personally. I mean, I have my Facebook profile, but that's just so I can use Messenger and keep in contact with some old friends from a long time ago. Other than that, you'll never really see me on there. I don't post on my personal account. I spend most of my social media usage just trying to market the business, and for clients too. That's the good side of social media. The bad side is when people use it as a billboard for their personal lives and they're advertising themselves all over the internet. And let's be honest, the majority of people out there, they don't care who you are. They don't care what you're doing if they don't know you. So why do you need to advertise?
Exactly. It constantly makes me worry, because my eldest daughter, she has mental health problems and she's struggling with her mental health. And I constantly worry, is she on social media? Is she having these influences? But I'm hoping that she's not, from what I know. But
many have said negative influences could very well be scammers, and that's why kids at young ages fall for the scams. And the Google Voice scam is just way too convincing. It just sounds too real most of the time. That's why people fall for it.
Yeah, it's to bring people together, actually. That's what I guess their goal is to do. Make one phone number or two phone numbers amongst all your devices.
Yeah.
But like Christian said, the more you use technology, the more they can spy on you.
Right?
Yeah.
Or steal your information.
I've always felt that Google knows more about you than you know about yourself.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I've said that before. I've said that before in a past show. It's very scary what they know about you. On your phone, the best thing to do is turn your location off when you don't need it. Use a VPN. If you use Surfshark, they have an app for your phone so you could browse on your phone using a secure location. They're not getting your real location.
Well, anywhere technically you bring your cell phone, they know exactly where you are.
Right.
That's true. Towers. But
yeah, triangulation.
The thing is, and unfortunately, here's another scary thing. The more technology progresses, the more online scamming is going to progress too, because they're just going to find ways to utilize the new technology.
Yes, or there might be new scams that come out because of new technology.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean.
That's very true. The scams progress as technology evolves.
Years ago, when I was a younger generation, I probably would have accepted anyone on social media. But luckily now, as I've grown and I've matured, I don't accept many random people at all unless I know they're safe.
That's a very good strategy to implement. I mean, if you're on social media, why would you add somebody you don't know, right?
that when you're a younger person and you don't really know well, you just want to be popular, you know, you just want to add everybody, you just like click, oh yeah, I have 1,000 friends, you know, or 10,000 friends. You just want to be popular. You don't care about the repercussions of all these so-called friends.
Right.
Yeah, people used to say years ago, you don't need all these friends, blah, blah, blah. And I used to be like, oh, fuck off, you know. And
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's true. As I've got older, you don't need them. You need to...
Yeah, and your true friends really show.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But you still have to have that door open to make new friends.
Yeah, of course, but
I mean,
keep
if you got
an open mind.
if you got 200 or 300 friends and you're really only talking in reality maybe 4 or 5, that basically tells you right there.
It was
You
funny
need to
one
get out
time.
more.
Yeah.
It was funny one time. A troll tried trolling me because I only had so many followers on my Instagram. I said to him, at least I know and trust all my followers. And this person replied, well, I trust all mine. I was thinking, yeah, as if, because his page was open and he had thousands of followers. He probably doesn't even know. So how the hell can you trust them all?
Right.
Exactly. And I guarantee out of some of those, there's a scammer.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, well, I'd rather have a few followers because at least I know I'm not going to get scammed anytime soon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
you'll get more followers. Just wait.
I like your strategy.
I don't really care about... Years ago, I cared, but now I don't care if I've got 5 followers, to be fair. You know, as long as I can trust that person.
I really like your strategy, Lauren. You really know how to stay safe on social media, and I wish other people would understand this as well, too. Especially these young kids, they shouldn't be adding people that they don't even know. And also, another reason why people fall for the scam is because sometimes they have people pretending to be someone that they do know, total stranger, posing as a friend or family member. That's another reason why people fall for these scams, because they look like the person they know. They steal their profile picture from the actual profile. A good way to check and see if this person is really that person or not is to do a search for them on social media. For example, if you've got someone suspicious pretending to be your mother and trying to add you on Facebook, ask her, is she on Facebook already? And if she is, ask her what her profile is. She sends it to you, you look at it, and it's different from the one that person trying to add you is sending you, then that other person's a scammer.
Do you know what's
the red flag
hilarious?
right there.
Like a few weeks ago, I got someone tried to troll me on Instagram, and I obviously gave it back 10 times worse, and he tried acting a victim. But then I had a light bulb moment when I seen his Instagram name. Years ago, this guy used to troll women and random people online, and I only just remembered when I looked at his name on Instagram, and I totally forgot about this person. And he's still out there years later trying to troll women.
Wow.
Pathetic.
And he still wasn't successful.
Yeah, but he's been doing it for years and he's still doing it now, and it's pathetic.
Wow, he's not even good at that.
That's how pathetic he is.
It's funny when they think they can win as well and they can't.
What else? He needs to do something else. Jeez.
That's how you know someone is truly pathetic, when they're pathetic at being pathetic.
Yeah, man.
That's good.
That's a good one, Christian. I like that. That's awesome.
Does anybody have any final thoughts they would like to share as I close the show?
Any questions or anything?
Just be aware of what's going on with this right now, because this is still fairly new. Jay helped us. Jay discovered it, and I think it's something that needs to be covered more. Actually,
Definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
I agree.
I haven't heard about this anywhere.
This was my first time hearing about it, and it's a very scary scam. We need to tell all our friends, our family, our neighbors, everybody we can think of about it, because one day this scam is going to hit them, and they're not even going to know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen a lot, because I mean, especially if you just unknowingly just click thinking it's okay. I mean, that's all it takes is one push or one entering of a code.
Yeah, or reply to
code.
someone's text message or something, you know? You're trying to sell this so-called refrigerator, and you get so many messages. You're like, hey, okay, I'll put in this code. All right, blah, blah, blah. And then you get screwed.
Yeah.
The number one thing to remember is if it looks suspicious and you didn't request that code, chances are it's fraud. Just don't even give in to it.
Exactly.
There's
You
one
can sell
thing
the
I
item
want
to
to
someone
mention.
else that doesn't need a code.
Because you got to remember, getting that code's going to take an action on your part. It's not just going to, if it pops up out of the blue and you're just sitting there not doing anything, it's probably a scam. Because them generating that code to you, it comes from an action that you did on your part.
Definitely.
Yeah,
It's not cool. You shouldn't need any code or any red yo-yo string to sell anything, dude. You should just be able to sell it like cleanly.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention before we finish is people used to say to me years ago, you should never follow these links. Like you get an email where it says, oh, you can win a gift card if you fill out this form and all that. And people used to say to me, oh, that's a scam. And I used to think, oh, no, it's not. You can win things. But it is a scam because it's a way how scammers get your number because you're putting your details out there and then you get like thousands of scammers trying to ring you.
And you get more emails.
It's one thing when you give them your phone number, but when you give them your credit card number, if it goes that far, that's when you need to start truly being scared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. The more information you had out there, the more they can play on.
All I can say is that when you get something like that, when you get some suspicious looking offer, just write it off as a scam. If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Or if it's something weird out of the blue or something strange, you don't feel right about it.
Right.
It's definitely a scam. They call it scam busters.
Nobody is going to be that generous to give you a free gift card or all that money. Think about the Publishers Clearinghouse scam that's pretty active right now, too. They're calling people up, telling them they've won all this money. It's not real. Publishers Clearinghouse does not call people to let you know you've won, especially if you're not even entered in their sweepstakes drawing to begin with.
Definitely.
Yeah. Lately, I've been
Even
getting
the sweepstakes is a scam.
You're correct.
Lately, I've been getting a lot of scammers ring me, pretend to be my housing repairs team, but I'm regularly in contact with my housing repairs team, so I know it's fake. And like every time I block them, they ring off a different number, and and they're Indian as well.
Oh, that's not cool.
It don't take but a minute to set up another number on Text Now or something like that. It's very easy.
Yes, it's real easy for Text Now to be abused by scammers. In fact, I personally think Text Now needs to get rid of the free plan because scammers are using it to their advantage.
Everybody there?
Yeah. Definitely.
They need to learn to spend money instead of always taking it from people. They need to learn what it feels like to go bankrupt, because that's what they do to their victims each and every single day. They nearly bankrupt them, especially if it's these elderly victims where they steal all their savings.
Yeah.
They need to learn more about what it feels like to be messed with like that. Then they would understand why we can't stand them and why we're in a fight to shut them down.
Half the time, not always, but half the time I blame the parents because they raise them to be entitled brats that think they're entitled to everything. They're entitled to scam you out your money and everything.
I definitely agree with you on that, especially with the younger kids who are following social media and trying to make themselves look like big shots when they're nobodies. That especially applies right there. Just a bunch of spoiled brats.
For sure. I want to say that probably the head honchos over there at the scamming facilities that have the nice fancy cars are promoting it a lot more too.
All those fancy cars that you mentioned, they obtained them through stolen money.
This is true, but if they drive in the fancy cars, then the people down below that are, working in the call center say, hey, maybe if I do good, I can be the boss and drive that fancy car too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's promotion, It's kind of weird. It's just really crappy how they have these views on it. Like, the more you scam people, the more money you can make.
That's how the American pyramid scheme scams work, too. The ones that I've been telling you about that target job seekers. The people at the very top of those pyramids, they've got money. It's all stolen money from the bottom of the pyramid. And they're using that money that they steal from innocent victims to buy cars and fancy houses and stuff like that. And the people at the bottom of the pyramid, they're basically scoring all these clients and robbing them just so the money can go up the pyramid to the boss. It's the exact same thing. It's not just those tech support call centers in India. The American scammers are just as bad too and just as toxic. And what's even scarier is that too many people write off something as legitimate just because they hear an American accent versus a foreign one, like an Indian or a Nigerian accent. But there are a lot of American scammers, a lot of them. And that Google Voice scam is one of many American scams that we don't hear about all the time and we need to create more awareness about.
And
Definitely, and I want to say that it's not really like racial. It's more of like a human disease.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just different nations. It's everyone. It's just human's nature, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I know very well that not all Indians are scammers. To say that they are would be racist.
Oh, I know that too. That's the way, dude. There's a lot of way awesome people out there, man.
Yeah. We all know a few personally ourselves.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just like everybody. You shouldn't judge other. Yeah, you shouldn't judge other people just for, like, say a few bad eggs or whatever, because not all Indian people are bad.
If you have a smartphone, and we all do, you're a target. They can find you. Anybody who owns a smartphone is subject to become a victim of this scam if they're not careful.
Yeah, luckily my neighbour, she's old, so she doesn't have a smartphone. She doesn't use the internet or anything. So she's been lucky without getting scammed.
She's safe for the most part. The only scam she would have to worry about would be if somebody calls her and tries to pretend to be SSA. Well, you're in the UK. Whatever the equivalent of the SSA in the USA would be, or something like that.
Yeah, luckily my neighbour knows everything she pays, everything that goes out. So luckily she's quite savvy.
There you go. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Spread the word to other people too.
Yes, tell everyone. Tell each and every person you know.
I was just going to say, if you guys got any questions about this scam, you can contact Jay, Christian, or any of us. I would say probably Christian and Jay would probably be your better bets if you got some direct questions about the scam. But, just don't leave it to hearing this podcast. We're going to keep covering, but if you got specific questions, feel free to contact those two guys.
Yes, for all our YouTube viewers, the links to all our contact information and our websites will be in the description.
Thanks, Christian.
I thank you guys for joining me on the show today. Does anybody have any more final thoughts before we close?
I just want to say, have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys as well.
Appreciate you listening with us.
I thank all of you guys for joining me and being my special guest as always. We're going to keep talking about scam baiting and scam fighting, as well as other topics related to consumer affairs and the business world. This will be a podcast for people to be able to come back to, listen to, and understand what's been going on with these scams and why people are falling for them and how we can stop them from falling for them.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely.
There's some anti-scamming going on.
As you know, the CDG BizCast focuses on several different aspects of the business world, and consumer affairs is a major part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Once again, I thank you guys for being my guests on the show. Chef Jay, Lauren Hicks, and Facedown Tragedy, thank you guys for being here. We will talk soon, and I look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode of the CDG BizCast. Bye for now.
Right on. Thanks, Christian. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Christian. Have fun.
Thanks, everyone.